a business guy. I'm not a politician. Don't have a background in politics. Can't stand politics. There you go. My background is in business. When it comes to business, I own a sports agency. I also real estate. I've flipped over 150 different properties as far as fixing them up from the back of the market. My background is also consulting. I've consulted probably about half a dozen companies now, big and small. I have my knowledge of business is kind of, it's kind of pretty array type, when it comes to business. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm not a professional politician. I'm a business guy. So one of the things I want to do with the Secretary of State is give more awareness to it. You ask the average person, average citizen in Illinois about the Secretary of State office, they can't tell you anything other than DMV. Those of us that have businesses or work for businesses, we know that there's business services. Well, Secretary of State handles whether you want to do LLC, whether you start a non-profit, what have you. There's so much that the Secretary of State deals with. I want to bring awareness to that. We want to lower fees at the Secretary of State office. We got a plan for tougher laws on driving while texting. We got tougher laws that we want to put in place for drunk drivers. At the end of the day, it's one of the most unutilized departments that there is in our government. We got 20 different departments, 4,000 employees, over $400 million budget. Okay, and like I said, the average person can only tell you about 10% of what's going on in that department. So, Secretary of State is a crucial part to us taking back our state. You got, when it comes to like what the Democrats have done in our state, they've made us more like a buy now, pay later. But the problem is later never comes. And that situation has to stop. And I think it starts with small business. Small business owner, whether blue collar, white collar, at the end of the day, it's our state. And we have a right to not end up like Michigan, or Detroit, I should say. We have a right not to end up like Detroit and go bankrupt. A lot of what you're seeing in the media is only a fraction of what's going on. Since I've been running for office, and since I've been doing a lot of my research, and when I say research, I'm not talking about okay. What I've seen with a lot of the laws that they're passing is despicable. It really is, because what they're doing is it's a law to benefit them. Like Madigan and those guys, they treat this thing like it's theirs. They see themselves here, they see you here, and that's not what it's about. The Constitution actually tells us that if the government fails us, it's our duty. It's our duty to turn around and replace that government. Well, it's been a long time, especially when you got guys who've been there over 30 years. Okay, and that's an issue. So one of the good things is that Jesse White was the right guy for the job at the time, because we were coming off of bad to say, we're coming off the license to drive scandal, we're coming off a lot of issues, and so you needed someone in there without blemish. And you needed someone in there that really wouldn't be judgmental, even though he had to be more of a puppet, which he still is. You needed someone like him in there. The problem is now is it doesn't cater to business. Okay, I find when we go to like the DMV in the smaller towns, like there's one in Plano, Illinois. It's awesome. You go in there to get you in and out quick. But part of the reason why that is because it's a smaller DMV. One of the things that I want to do is I want to condense the DMV to where it has a more controlled situation where you can get in and get out. You shouldn't have to take, years ago, right? Some of you are older. You know that years ago you go to DMV and you come right in and out. Now you go in there on your lunch break. You come out. But it's not. You can't. It just can't be done. So that's because they haven't streamlined the process. Okay. The DMV has become more of a situation where the individuals that work at the DMV are just just like, they're not happy with their jobs and stuff like that. And because, it's a state job, it's just kind of, And so that's unacceptable. We got to put customer service back in the DMV. We have to run it like a business. If we run it like a business, we wouldn't have 20 departments, a $400 million budget. It hasn't been adjusted. My first 90 days of being elected, I want to do an independent forensic audit of the situation, finding out why is the budget $400 million. It shouldn't be $400 million, especially when 90% of the revenue that comes in of that $400 million, 90% of the revenue that comes into the Secretary of State office comes from the DMV and it comes from business services. So you have this division of government that has 90 departments, but only 2 departments are profitable. If it was a business, what would we do? We would say, okay, you know what, we can consolidate this into this and so forth. One of the important things that Secretary of State does is they deal with broker services. So like if you become a broker in the state of Illinois, you go from there. Secretary of State Police, I want to take that and get it moved under state police. The original purpose of the Secretary of State Police, they were supposed to enforce Blacker law and enforce the services of the Secretary of State. So if a person went and incorporated, let's say a person was a foreigner and they came and they incorporated. Well, if they were to do that, the state would know right away that that person was a foreigner and they shouldn't have to do that. Okay? That's what the Secretary of State Police is supposed to do. They're supposed to go around and police services and affairs that the Secretary of State office. But that's not what they do. Most of those guys now have become security guards. Those are guys that are sitting at the Secretary of State office. So, like I said, at the end of the day, there's a lot to go over, but this is a central part. I was fortunate enough 2 weeks ago to talk to ex-Governor Jim Eckert, who teaches down in Urbana, Illinois, and we were talking about the same thing. When it comes to the Secretary of State, the average person, they're looking at it like, okay, I just got to deal with it when I deal with my driving services. But it's an important stronghold that we need. And for years, it's always been thought of as more of a bipartisan position, just because it's doing more of an enforcement than it is actually right policy. But more and more of it, teens getting killed by drunk drivers, some of the texting laws and stuff like that. It's been very important for the Secretary of State to kind of step up. One of the things I want to deal with is the license situation. Rahm Emanuel, Jesse White, and Quinn all got together and said, well, we're going to give driver's license to undocumented. And we're only doing it for ID purposes. But when I give an ID, why give a driver's license? It's like, a driver's license is I recall my dad was a preacher. I don't know if I told you guys that. My dad was a minister in Chicago. He had a church, non-denomination. He used to always say that the church was an old bank building. So he used to use that as a hint when it came to collections. The point is that these guys, they make these laws and stuff like that, and they say, oh, well, driving is a privilege. Well, if it's a privilege, it's something you have to earn, whether you go through a high school and go through the driver's ed program or something like that. Mom and dad take you out, show you how to drive. Well, what they're going to do with this issue, they're basically just saying, hey, we're going to give you this license, and that's it. And to me, I said at another meeting that I was at, I think they have used, I don't think I know, excuse me, I know. They have used things like cell phones to buy votes, Obama phone. They use things like health care to buy votes. They're using things like driver's license to buy votes. This is what they do. And us, we have to come together. The biggest problem is we can't be divided, because my dad used to always say, while we're sitting here kind of bickering among ourselves, what's happening is they're taking over, they're stealing our state funds. You know, and so what I want to do is I want to bring business to Illinois, and I want to give the Secretary of State office a total overhaul